Hello everybody and welcome back to yet another video from my series Quick Thoughts On, in which I talk about different stories from the Star Trek universe. In this video I'm going to talk about the next episode from the classic Star Trek show called A Piece of the Action. And these are my honest opinions about it. Star Trek ignored genres. The Star Trek format was great for all kinds of stories. They could do serious drama, they could do social commentary, they could do hard sci-fi, or even a comedy, or a combination of all of them. We had a comedy a few episodes ago called The Trouble with Tribbles, and A Piece of the Action was also pretty funny, but unlike Tribbles, action starts pretty seriously, and the tone of the story shifts towards comedy. In the beginning, the Enterprise has to deal with a very serious problem. 100 years ago, the USS Horizon visited Sigma Iotia 2, and because they didn't have the Prime Directive implemented yet, the Horizon crew has intentionally contacted the relatively primitive planet population. Because they sent their message via standard radio, only now it was received by the Federation, and the Enterprise was sent to clean up their mess. And it's much worse than they imagined. When Kirk, Spock and McCoy beam down, they are greeted by gangsters. The planet looks like Chicago from the 1920s, and it's ruled by mafia bosses. The men who, quote-unquote, greet our heroes with Tommy guns aimed at their heads work for the boss called Bela Oxmix. I remember his name. My uncle was named Bela because his mother was Hungarian, and I always thought of him as a gangster. Before they get the chance to process all of the absurdity, they get attacked from a drive-by car by men belonging to another boss named Krakow. If you see this episode for the first time, it's kind of hard to see this as a comedy. It looks like human life doesn't have a high value on this planet. When they arrive to Bela's office as guests, or if you want, prisoners, they find out that Bela is the boss of the biggest territory on Iotia, and that their whole civilization is based on a book about the 1920s Chicago gangsters. The book was left there by the Horizon, and because they had the tendency to copy everything, they took the book as a sort of a Bible. Now, this is a very serious thing, and it's based on real-life phenomena, known as, for example, cargo cult. It is very common in human history that if a more advanced civilization contacts a less advanced civilization, the less advanced civilization always gets influenced by the more advanced civilization. And in the case that the less advanced civilization is not yet prepared to assimilate all of the new knowledge, it can end violently. The same thing happened on Iotia. When Oxmix says to Kirk that he wants from the feds, as he called them, the new phaser weapons or the new heaters, Kirk, disgusted by what he has seen so far, declines, because Oxmix wants to kill all of the other bosses and take over the planet, which would mean more blood on the hands of the Federation. The landing party members are held hostage in a warehouse, but their captors are bored, so they start playing a card game. And this moment is where the episode starts to get funny, at least in my opinion. Kirk uses his brain and his perfect cooperation with Spock and Bones to overcome them. They now have weapons, so Kirk orders the rest of them to go back to the ship, while he himself wants to correct the mess they are responsible for. But before he manages to do anything, he gets captured by another gangster and he's brought to his boss, Jojo Krakow. And Krakow spends his time shooting at a poster of Bela Oxmix. Wait, Oxmix? Sorry, originally I stopped at this point and rewatched the episode in English, and they clearly call him Oxmix. So, who screwed up? The prop department who made the poster with a typo, or was Okmix Bela's original name and was changed after the poster has been created? I'm sorry, but this is the type of things which can drive me insane. That's probably not very healthy. But back to the story. Krakow wants the same as Bela, which means that Kirk is again a prisoner and has to escape again. This time using a plan which looks like taken from some black and white slapstick comedy. Meanwhile, Bela contacts the Enterprise, and after he finds out that Spock and Bones are there, he offers them a new cooperation. He will help them save Kirk from Krakow, and they will help him. And Spock sees this as perfectly logical thing to do. Don't Vulcans know the old saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me? Because who would have said that Oxmix captures them again? What a surprise! But this time they are not prisoners for a very long time, because Kirk arrives there with his Tommy gun and uses it politely to ask Bela's men to give them their suits. And I must admit that seeing Shatner in that suit with a Tommy gun in his hand makes me think that he indeed would be a great gangster. He and Spock steal a car and use a small kid to get into Krakow's house, promising him a piece of the action, which is of course the title of this episode. And we never see this boy again. Makes you wonder what happened to him. I always imagined that a few years later he grew up and became the new main boss and declared war on the Federation, but they raid Krakow's home, only to get captured again. You know, all of the episodes are becoming more and more repetitive, but this one is at least entertaining. But Kirk outsmarts Krakow and pretends that the Federation actually came to take over the place. They just pretend they don't want to interfere, but in reality they want to rule the planet from backstage. Officially, one of the bosses will rule over the whole planet, but in reality the boss will work for the Federation. And to show him they mean it, Scotty beams Krakow to the Enterprise to show him their power. When they get back to Oxmix, they try the same plan on him. They force him to phone the other bosses and beam them to Bela's hideout. When they are all in there, Kirk again tells them their plan. They, however, don't believe that the Federation is actually that big and that powerful. Overall, they have seen just 3 people down on the planet, and Krakow has seen 3 other people on the ship. But Kirk demonstrates their power when Scotty, with just one blast, sends all of Krakow's men outside to Dreamland. Finally, they all agree, and our heroes can get back to the ship. But when McCoy tells them a valid concern, he thinks that he lost his communicator down on the planet, and therefore the contamination could be even worse. For some reason the episode ends with a joke, and it even ends with a freeze frame, like this was a sitcom. As far as I know, that's the only time any episode ended like this, so it's unique, but I'm not sure if I love it or hate it. This episode is a bit confusing, at least tonally. It feels like it started as a series episode, but the producer, Gene L. Kuhn, has added more and more jokes with every rewrite. He was quite known to do this, and even Gene Roddenberry wasn't a fan of it. But at the same time, it sort of works. Kind of. I am kind of split on this episode. There is a part of me which thinks that you shouldn't make fun of serious things like the cultural contamination thing, but another part of me thinks that everybody should have the right to make fun of basically anything. Does it make sense? If not, let me rephrase it. I don't think it's as funny as everybody else seems to think it is. I would also prefer if this was done in all seriousness, but again, that's just me. I'm not going to force anybody into thinking the same thing as I do. It's definitely an entertaining episode. I think we can all agree on that, and it's definitely on my list of episodes you should definitely watch at least once. On my standard scale between 0 and 10, where 0 is complete garbage, 5 is average, and 10 is a masterpiece, I would give this episode 8 out of 10. As I said, this is definitely one of the episodes which everybody should watch at least once. Anyway, those were as always just my personal opinions. Feel free to write your opinions down in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button, and if you have some spare time, feel free to check any of the other videos on my channel. You should see some links on screen right now. Thanks to everybody for watching, and see you in a few days with my video about the immunity syndrome. Thanks again, and see you soon. Bye.